Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to welcome to the show right now. Of course, you've known this gentleman from his series Chuck, but you're about to rediscover him again in Heroes Reborn on NBC. Say hello to Zachary Levi. Can I call you Zach?
Oh, yeah. Zachary, Schmucko, Poopy Pants, okay. Stumpy Bomb, whatever.
Well, because you would think the Zachary part would be the part where people are like, do I call him Zachary? Do I call him Zach? Other people sometimes is like, is it like Levy, like Eugene Levy, or is it Levi?
Oh, Levi.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, that's
Levi.
definitely the more confusing part. Because it's, I mean, my actual last name is Pugh. It's Welsh, but Levi's my middle name. So I've been going by Zachary Levi professionally for a long time. And understandably, everyone thinks, oh, you're a good Jewish kid. And I'm like, I feel like I'm deceiving you right now. Although I've been to Seder, I can't even tell you how many times. Like, because everybody in my agent, my manager, my lawyer, you know, they're all,
right.
Everybody in Hollywood's Jewish. Everyone who controls everything is Jewish. Everyone who controls my life in Hollywood is Jewish. Anyway, so no, and Zach, I mean, you know, Zachary's like the professional, you know, title, I guess, but no, call me Zach.
Zach,
call me whatever you want. Just don't call me late for dinner.
Do people ever, when you started coming around on the scene, as if you will, for TV and movies and whatnot, with the name Levi, not knowing your real name, did they assume that you were maybe part of the Gene Company? Like that was, you had family ties to that too?
No, you know, every once in a while somebody asks me that, and I'm like, no. Although I wish that would probably be very lucrative.
Sometimes people say, "Oh, your last name's Hunt." Any relation to the Hunts? You know?
Oh, like Hunt's Ketchup.
Yeah, people always try to associate you to a family.
Yeah.
I guess in a way to discredit people, because if you come from something successful and a successful family, and you're trying to do this kind of art, people are like, "Oh, he's just dabbling. He's not really taking this seriously."
I see. Yeah, I guess there is something like that. I think, I don't know. I wonder if, I've always kind of taken it, I just wonder if people are more intrigued. Like it's an added level of celebrity. Like they met somebody who was a Rockefeller, or they met somebody who was like a Vanderbilt or a Carnegie or something like that. Like anytime I've ever met anybody that has a last name that could, you know, be connected to something, I'm always piqued, a little intrigued.
Right.
But I feel like there's not even that many names that are so famous. Like if I ever met a Kardashian, I would have to ask, "Are you?" And I would have to believe that
you should ask them. More chances than not, you're going to run into one of them somewhere at an event, and you can go up to, you know, like to Kylie or something like, "You related to like Kim? Is that your sister?" And she'll just look at you like you're an asshole.
You know, I do. Speaking of the whole last name game, I do find it so fascinating and hysterical that after World War II, any family that had the last name Hitler, no more. They all dropped it.
No, they were, and a lot of them were, because I grew up on Long Island, but a lot of them were on Long Island.
Wait, what?
There were people who had the last name Hitler. Before I was born, right, in the 60s and 50s, 60s, 70s in there. And you can look up in like Newsday articles and things like that of these families that had to change their name.
Oh, full on, dude.
What was going on. But my surprise was that you waited till the 60s? Like that war ended in the 40s. You think that would have been the first thing you did?
They were hoping they could slide through. Look, hey, Hitler, fine. We're not related to Adolf.
I'm not registering to vote.
What's with the mustache, though, Tim?
I'm not registering to vote. I don't have a library card. We're going to skim on this. We got to change it.
No, we got to change it.
Got 20 more years out of it, but it's got to go.
Yeah.
Let me just set the plate here for people who may not know who you are. The show Chuck on NBC was a unique take at something sort of like, it was a little James Bondish. It was a little Mission Impossible. It was all these kind of spy things put together in an unlikely way where it was programmed into your head. Yeah. And you worked at the like a Best Buy equivalent.
Yeah, the Buy More.
Just a regular guy working a regular job, and then all of a sudden you became one of the most important weapons to the United States government.
Exactly.
This show, like a lot of shows, I guess was struggling when it started, but then it hit its groove. And even though it wasn't getting the full mainstream, it had such a following that people were so dedicated to this show.
Yeah, it was an incredible experience, man. I mean, we came out. Television it's so weird because, you know, I mean, even up until let's say the early 2000s,
right?
Television still was pretty strong. You know, you could have a show and have pretty massive ratings,
right?
But all of a sudden, kind of all at once, you had this convergence of cable was really starting to hit a stride with its own kind of original programming, and the internet was kind of providing, even if it was just like YouTube distraction at that point, it was still something. And then clearly DVR, which was really the biggest thing, because now all of a sudden live numbers just didn't mean what they meant anymore.
Right.
So live viewership, which is really the only way you can kind of successfully monetize network television, was just dropping and dropping and dropping and dropping, and nobody knew what to do. And so we kind of came out. We premiered on Chuck in 2007, and so that was kind of, I was really 5 years into the already declined, the kind of, the sinking network numbers ship that was the juggernaut for so long, and they didn't know what to do. Nobody really knew what to do, but we did have this really incredibly passionate fan base, this, some might call a cult following, even though I think it's a bit bigger than a super culty niche following.
Right.
But regardless, they were really passionate about the show. They fought for us. I mean, we were on the chopping block every year, almost got canceled every year.
Well, see, that was the point. I wasn't saying like it was a super niche kind of show. I meant it in the fact that compared to the whole mainstream thing and network television still sort of being what it was back then, not what it is now. But your show on NBC, major network, wasn't really measuring up compared to some of the other shows that were on the networks.
No. I don't disagree with you.
You had such a fan base that kept this thing coming back.
100%.
Because there was enough people that made it financially worthwhile for the network and the production companies to keep bringing Chuck back because people loved it.
No, 100%. And I actually don't disagree with you. I do think that we were... for all intents and purposes, we were kind of a niche show. We
and it wasn't fitting into what networks were doing.
No.
You guys were ahead of just barely, but you were ahead of your time for that kind of programming. Because if you came out now, it would be blockbusters, right?
I don't know though, because the numbers are so bad now.
No, but I'm saying the culture that's out there right now, because there's so many the comic book stuff, geek related programming, and things like that everywhere, that they all do well in their respective fashions and networks that they're on. You guys were ahead of the time before that trend, and just barely, because while you were on, then Big Bang Theory came on, I think a couple years into your run.
Yep.
So you were kind of the first program there to get this ball rolling with this whole explosion for the geek and nerd genre.
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, I wonder if...
As far as network goes, I'll even say, because I'm sure there was stuff, Sci-Fi Network had stuff going on and whatever, but to get it to everybody that wasn't experiencing this kind of stuff, Chuck was, at least in my opinion, I think was the forerunner to get this ball rolling.
Well, I definitely think we were one could make the argument that we were right there in the beginnings, but I would probably argue that we were one of many different shows, including Big Bang, because now that I'm thinking about it, I wonder if Big Bang came out right at the same time. I feel like perhaps they did. I think
they're in their 7th season now or something like that.
Yeah, but
I think you guys had,
we might have had an edge on it. We might have had a slight edge on it.
I think you had 1, maybe 2 seasons.
We might have. But ultimately, whether we were the first show to do it or one of the first, we definitely were a very unique. We were uniquely placed in kind of the time of television. We were uniquely placed in the genre that we were. We were such a we were a cornucopia of genres. It was an action dramedy. So it was action, drama, comedy, with also like mythology and mystery, and it was crazy, but what was so awesome about it was that it was an hour of television that I, more often than not, like the coolest compliment I could get, and I would get it more than most things about the show, which was entire families would sit down and watch it together. Like, it wasn't like, this wasn't the show the kids like to watch, it wasn't the show the adults like to watch or whatever, it was everybody. And in a culture now where family time seems like fewer and far between,
right,
everybody appreciated that. It was like...
It was prime time on a Monday night.
Yeah, exactly. And in the way that people used to gather around a radio and listen to a radio program, a whole family, or even television, when it kind of first started. But now there's so much. It's like we're inundated with so many options. There's so much content. Kids will, fuck off and go play video games or YouTube or whatever, and not really watch anything that's on TV because they don't relate to what their parents want to watch. But Chuck was something that they all, like, I can't even tell you how many times kids or adults or even like grandparents would say, "Oh, I watched it with my whole family. We all just sit and watch it." And because we pushed the envelope, but not so much that kids couldn't still watch it without parents feeling like they were exposing their kids to something they shouldn't be watching, you know?
I want to point out, at least for me, the impact Chuck had on my life.
Yeah.
I cannot hear a Rush song or see Centipede in an old arcade without thinking of Chuck.
That's fantastic.
And whenever that song is on the radio, all I can picture is that's how you beat asteroids to get to that code at the end of Chuck.
Yeah, Missile Command.
Yeah.
Missile Command. Yeah. Oh, dude, it was all the references that we had in the show. I mean, the writers did a really good job of bringing so much pop culture into it, and and great guest stars. We had great.
That episode alone tied the old-fashioned, old-school kind of nerdiness.
Yeah.
Rush is more of like a Dungeons and Dragons kind of nerdiness.
Totally.
And then you're bringing it in with Centipede, which again, old-school nerdiness with the arcade, into a show now, which is doing the new nerdy. You bridged the gap with that one episode.
Yeah, dude. There was a lot of really quirky, silly, fun stuff that we got to do, and the show had so much heart. I think just people could relate to that, and they just and it could get zany, and people just like going on these fun adventures and missions with us every week.
Well, let's talk about where it's led you to now.
Yeah.
To Heroes Reborn on NBC. For those who aren't familiar, Heroes, I think had a 3 or 4 season run.
Four season
run. I'll be honest, I think I wasn't around for the 4th season like a lot of people, unfortunately. But I did catch up as this was coming around to see about Claire Bennett's death and what have you there. Oh, there's so many things to go with this because I want to talk about because I was at Comic-Con, seeing the display there and all that. We'll go there first. So there was a big display right outside of Comic-Con.
Yeah, massive.
Right by the railroad tracks across from the Hard Rock there. So much going on there. And I was amazed at the reaction, people going over there taking photos, trying to get every free thing they were handing out and what have you, because Heroes started off so strong. And then by the end of the 2nd season, going into the last 2 seasons, it kind of petered off. And I don't know if it was because they were moving it around in its time slot, or if it was just a generational shift that happened right there, where people were starting to not follow the story anymore.
I think. I mean, God, I'm sure there's so many different opinions about what happened or what could have happened or should have happened or whatever. I think that unfortunately, when you have, nothing had been as big on television as Heroes when it premiered. Like it was that first season was so massive.
And it launched so many people.
Many people, and they had an international press tour, like film status, like going around and doing multiple premieres in different countries around the world. Like that was massive. I've never seen that happen before, and I haven't seen it happen since. But as with any kind of success, following up that success is just a really difficult thing to do. And you have so many cooks in the kitchen. You have executives from the studio and the network and all the producers and all the different international markets, and everybody's weighing in and saying, "Oh, wouldn't it be cool if this and wouldn't it be cool if that, and we should do this and we should do that, and we got to keep this thing going. It's like a tentpole for NBC." I don't know. I think sometimes your head just gets spun and you kind of lose track of where you started. But unfortunately, Heroes is one of so many IPs that this has happened to.
Right.
Matrix is to me something that happened to. I loved the first Matrix movie, and I thought the second and third had some really cool stuff in them, but they never really got back to the heart of what the first one was about.
Lost.
Oh, well, Lost was lost.
Lost became an appointment viewing thing where everybody was addicted to watching it, getting anxiety, and then getting angry at the end, going, "What the fuck happened? I just see, now I gotta wait till next week." And they couldn't fully bring it back around again like that.
Yeah, that show broke my heart. I mean, there was still so many great things in it. Great performances, some really great episodes. But yeah, ultimately, at the end of the day, for it to not come full circle and make any sense or pay off the things that it kept presenting was really a bummer. It was really, really a bummer. And I think they were trying with Heroes. It's not lost on anybody. I mean, Tim's aware, the producers are aware, the cast is aware, the network's aware that it started in one place and ended in another. And I think that certainly with Heroes Reborn, they're trying to recapture some of the magic they had the first season.
Were you surprised when they announced this? Because I was like, wow, they're really giving this franchise another shot, because you never really see that. Like, unless it's a movie franchise and you're trying, like, let's say Sony and Fox, they're trying not to lose the Marvel rights that they have, so they'll reboot Spider-Man and Fantastic Four a million times just to keep the rights, not really caring what the fan base is thinking of it. They're looking at it as a business end. On television, that doesn't usually happen. You never get a resurgence, especially so far past the time of the original series, to bring back another edition of that series, that franchise.
No, it is surprising, and again, I don't know My guess, if I was a guessing man, and I do guess often, my guess would be, look, television's nuts, man. It's hard. It's hard to stake a claim anywhere with a new show. There's so many options, and I would guess that maybe NBC, in trying to figure out, well, what's a way that we could start a show now that already has a built-in audience.
Right.
And in order to do that, you're either using an existing IP that's a book, basing it off a movie, all that stuff all happens. And for this one, they thought, well, look, Heroes was really massive. It was, the biggest at one point. And it kind of petered off. It's been 5 years. That seems like it's sat long enough. And
it's one of the franchises that they have, or anybody has, that makes sense to bring it back, because superheroes have never been hotter in anything to do with our culture.
Totally. And at that kind of a world, you can kind of go anywhere with, right? So it's not like you have to pick up in a similar fashion, or like you're at a loss for story. Like you can, like in this case, the show picks up 5 years, just like in real life, or kind of mirroring real life, it picks up 5 years after the end of the original series, right, when Claire, basically exposes her power to the world.
Right.
And now we pick up 5 years into the world, now knowing there are people with abilities.
And you're a bad guy in this one, right? Because that's the impression I was getting off the trailer.
Yeah, essentially.
Are you filling in like the Zachary Quinto role, like that kind of persona? Are you kind of filling that little niche in the show?
I don't want to say. I don't want to say anything because I don't want to spoil anything.
No, okay.
But definitely. Look, if you're watching, when you watch a premiere tonight, anybody out there who's listening,
tonight at 8 p.m. Tonight at 8 p.m. Premiere
2 hour
on
premiere
NBC.
on NBC. Yeah, 7 Central. And also, by the way, if you still have more hankering to see my ugly mug on television, Geeks Who Drink is on Sci-Fi at 11. That's the other show that I'm doing right now.
Also part of NBC.
Oh yeah, Sci-Fi's part of the Comcast Universal umbrella. You'll see that there are very clear good guys and there are pretty clear bad guys. I guess I would fall into that category, but I would also say that there's a lot of shades of gray in the show.
Okay,
and any good bad guy worth his weight, I think, they don't think they're bad. They fully believe in whatever they're doing. I think it is the right thing to do. So you'll see a lot of, not everything is as it seems. And as the series progresses, it'll get even more gray, I think.
A lot of new characters in the show for Reborn.
Yeah,
also
mostly new.
Some returning characters in there. Noah Bennett, who was Claire's dad.
Yep, HRG.
Is in there. Mm-hmm. But then I guess they're guest roles because Hero's coming back.
Yes, Sendel.
And Matt Parkman.
Yeah, Sendel comes back. Greg Grunberg comes back. Mossy comes back. Jimmy Jean-Louis comes back.
Are they just appearances, or are they?
Nah, they're. I would say they're more than cameos.
Okay.
I mean, some of them, they're all slightly different, but there's some multiple episode arcs and all that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Heroes Reborn. The 2-hour premiere is tonight at 8 p.m. on NBC. Then it's Thursdays 8 p.m. on NBC.
Mm-hmm.
Going forward there.
Yeah.
So please check that out, especially if you were look, give it an honest shot, because if you were fans of Heroes and maybe you were one of those people that didn't like the way it went, give this a shot, because they're trying to redeem the franchise. They're taking it in a new direction, which I think is making a lot of sense, and it's never been hotter time to bring back superhero characters, especially in this universe. I think it'll do well. Before we get out of here, I want to talk to you about San Diego Comic-Con and your other company, The Nerd Machine.
Yeah.
I was out at San Diego, and I was at a party. You guys were sponsoring a party. I don't know if was it for Loot Crate, or was it for Robot Chicken or something? You guys were the host for one of the parties out there.
Well, we have our own party called the Nerd Party. We have parties basically every night. So Thursday night we have a big open to the public, just fan party. Welcome to Comic-Con party. Friday night is our private sponsor party, but that's all the sponsors that we have at Nerd HQ, the event that we put on for the whole weekend. And Nerd HQ is basically, we get a venue, we pack it full of tech and games. We have a merch booth set up, and then we also have panels, celebrity signings, celebrity
you guys
photos,
were everywhere,
all for charity, all that stuff. And and then it's all it started. I mean, we started it to be like, well, how do we have brand presence at Comic-Con for Nerd Machine? How do we sell merch? And then I just kind of believe that if you give people a bunch of really cool opportunities and free stuff, that then they can go, oh, you know what? We dig you. Thank you for taking care of us. We want to take care of you. We like your brand. We want to buy a t-shirt, But part of that is also just throwing parties every night because I like a good dance party. And so Friday night, I think, Loot Crate was definitely had a partnership with us. So,
because one of the crates that came out, I think it was in June,
had Nerd Machine stuff in it.
Had Nerd Machine in there, had stickers and a couple other things in there, which is really cool.
Yeah. And all the guys at Robot Chicken are really dear friends. Seth and Matt, they've come and done panels with us every year, raised lots of money for charity. So yeah, Friday night probably might have been the party that you came to. It's just a shit ton of fun.
I think that sounds about right.
Yeah, just dancing and drinking and having a grand old time.
I just want to say it was a really cool time, and I was glad to see when I found out about your company and everything, I was like, wow, that he's tied into this. I'm like, that's really cool because you're not just walking the line of, oh, I'm into geek stuff. You're actually doing something about it, and you're actually putting something out there.
I mean, I grew up my whole life a nerd. I mean, in the very part of what Nerd Machine is about is trying to change people's definition or help people to understand that we're all nerds. Nerdy just means passionate. What are you nerdy about? You could be a fashion nerd or a fucking a gym nerd. You're a workout nerd. You can be a car nerd. You can be a sports nerd. You can be a video game nerd or a comic book nerd, which tend to be more stereotypical. But my whole life, I grew up reading comic books and playing video games and doing theater. Right. Like I don't know that you get nerdier than that. So me becoming an adult and then then playing Chuck exposed me in the entertainment world to Comic-Con for the first time. Like I always knew about Comic-Con. I always wanted to go down, but I wasn't a big cosplayer and I don't really collect toys. That's not what I'm nerdy about.
Right.
So I was like, I guess I don't really need to go down to Comic-Con.
So your desk is not full of Funko Pop?
No. No, it's not. Although good on them. That's a fun little movement they got going.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
I've spent, I'm not even going to say, but lots of money.
Lots of money.
To Funko.
At least $10.
They're good guys, yes. Yeah. And who knows, maybe you'll have a deal for your hero character.
Oh, it'll be awesome.
Down the line.
That'll be awesome.
Heroes Reborn, Thursdays, 8 p.m. on NBC. Yep. Zachary Levi, thank you so much. Also, check out thenerdmachine.com.
Yep.
Check out the website. You have a cool app up there that people can download for the phone. Podcast stuff, videos, clothing, all this kind of cool shit. Check everything out. I have so much stuff I want to ask you, but we ran out of time.
All good. Next time.
But next time you come back
Next time. And I'm moving to New York in December. I'm doing a Broadway show. I'm doing She Loves Me for the roundabout, so I'll be here.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, I'll come back in.
That's actually not that far from here.
No. American Airlines Theater.
Right.
Yeah.
All right, Zach, thank you so much. Also, if you want to send some love, Zachary Levi on both Twitter and Instagram.
And
tell him what you think about Heroes
and
everything else going on. Thank you so much, man. I can't wait to see you next time.
So appreciate it.